guys, Brandon Lee here from Virtualization How To. Just wanted to spin up a new video. Just some kind of cool stuff, I guess, if lack of a better word to describe it, been playing around with in the home lab. Just doing some writing based on VirtualBox. So I've been playing around with VirtualBox just a bit, and wanted to describe to you guys a little bit about how you can set up nested virtualization with VirtualBox. So VirtualBox, if you're not aware, is a really cool little program. You can download this from virtualbox.org, and it'll come up here. So you can simply download VirtualBox for Windows hosts. So it's really flexible platform: Windows, OS X, Linux, Solaris. So quite flexible little virtualization platform that you can play around with. So what I have done to set up the lab here is basically kind of cool. I have a nested Windows 10 virtual machine that is running inside of my vSphere lab. So this guy here, Win10 vbox. So what I have done is I've made sure, because this is kind of a normal process that you go through when working with nested virtualization with ESXi. So as you can see, basically it's grayed out because it's powered on here, but I do have hardware virtualization checked. So what that does is, as it describes here, expose hardware assisted virtualization to the guest OS. So that allows the virtual machine to interact directly with the virtualization capabilities of the host CPU, which in my case is an Intel processor, Intel Xeon processor. You can read more about my home lab on Virtualization How To /home lab, I believe. And so let's minimize that. So basically what I've done, I have VirtualBox installed. This is just a Win10 placeholder VM, if you will, that I was playing around with a little bit earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create new VM. So as you see here, again, the placeholder. So I'm going to say new. I'm going to name this ESXi, and I'm going to choose, well, actually, wait, before I choose Linux, I want to detail something here just for a second. If you do not choose to use the hardware-assisted virtualization as shown just a couple of minutes ago with your VMware vSphere VM, if you're nesting this inside of a vSphere virtual machine, you will not see the 64-bit options or the Windows Server options, interestingly. So just something to note, if you see that as an indicator when you go to create new virtual machine, be aware that that setting is not set. So we're going to choose Linux, and we want to scroll down to other Linux 64-bit. So selecting that, we're going to select next, and I'm going to bump this up to 1024 gig. Select next, create a virtual hard disk now. 8 gigs should be fine for our ESXi partition. We're going to use VirtualBox disk image next. Dynamically allocated, which means that basically it's thin provisioned, so it will only use the space as needed. Select next. The default storage path is fine, so we're going to say create. So now we have our ESXi VM that is displaying in VirtualBox. So as mentioned, we're doing nested virtualization. So if we want to nest or actually run a virtual machine inside of this ESXi VM, we want to enable nested virtualization here as well. So something to note, if you click settings for your VM, this is found under system and processor. Something to note, notice it says enable nested VT-X AMD-V. So this is the nested virtualization option, but notice it's grayed out. If you are running a Intel CPU, you will not see this option to enable it through the GUI. Now, evidently with AMD, according to the information gathering I've done, you will see this available, but I do not have AMD in the lab to test this out. So what do? Well, command line to the rescue, excuse me, command line to the rescue. So what we want to do is navigate, as you can see here, to the program files directory Oracle VirtualBox. And if you've added this to the path statement, you could run this command without having your focus here. I have not done that. So what I'm going to point out is a command from the command line called vboxmanage.exe. So if you just hit enter, tons of options here with this command line tool. One thing to note, and I show this in the blog, you can do vboxmanage list VM, I think, list VMs, plural. So as you can see, our newly created ESXi virtual machine and the VirtualBox identifier to go along with that. To allow nested virtualization or enable that on this particular VM, what we want to do is run the command modify VM ESXi, which is our VM we want to enable this on, and then the parameter nested-hw for hardware, virtualization, and on. So yes, we want to reload. Okay, so I had the box up and it's asking, hey, something has changed. So as you note, we have enabled hardware assisted virtualization on our ESXi VirtualBox VM inside of our VirtualBox that's nested inside of our ESXi virtual machine. So kind of cool. Now, one thing I want to show under settings, we will go to storage. Notice that it says empty here. So you can do this. You can actually click the little plus here to add an optical drive, but actually the optical drive is already added in this case. So this blue button next to the optical drive, choose/create a virtual optical disk, and that's what we want to do. And if you notice here, I've already got some history. I have already added this, but if you don't have this listed, it's simple. Click add, select your downloaded ESXi ISO image. In this case, it's 7.0 update 1C, which I freshly pulled today. So add it, it'll be listed, and then simply hit choose. And if you note, now it's listed. So we simply click OK, and now we are able to start our ESXi virtual machine with the settings that we have enabled for nested virtualization. So another pop-up here, I didn't see that earlier, but it's asking, I think it's just due to some settings I had left over. But select our ISO image, click Start, and in a moment, there you have it. So easy way to do nested virtualization inside of Oracle VirtualBox. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope to be placing and uploading more videos to the YouTube channel, so check back often, subscribe, and hope you enjoy. See you guys down the road.